Retirement is the point where a person stops employment completely. A person may also semi-retire by reducing work hours. An increasing number of individuals are choosing to put off this point of total retirement by selecting to exist in the emerging state of pre-retirement. Many people choose to retire when they are eligible for private or public pension benefits, although some are forced to retire when physical conditions no longer allow the person to work any longer or as a result of legislation concerning their position. In most countries, the idea of retirement is of recent origin, being introduced during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Previously, low life expectancy and the absence of pension arrangements meant that most workers continued to work until death. Germany was the first country to introduce retirement, in 1889. Nowadays most developed countries have systems to provide pensions on retirement in old age, which may be sponsored by employers or the state. In many poorer countries, support for the old is still mainly provided through the family. Today, retirement with a pension is considered a right of the worker in many societies, and hard ideological, social, cultural and political battles have been fought over whether this is a right. In many Western countries this right is mentioned in national constitutions. Retirement in specific countries. A person may retire at whatever age they please. However, a country's tax laws or state old age pension rules usually mean that in a given country a certain age is thought of as the standard retirement age. The standard retirement age varies from country to country, but it is generally between 50 and 70. In some countries this age is different for males and females, although this has recently been challenged in some countries, and in some countries the ages are being brought into line. The table below shows the variation in eligibility ages for public old age benefits in the United States and many European countries, according to the OECD. Notes. Parentheses indicate eligibility age for women when different. Sources. Coles. 1-2. OECD pensions at a glance. Coles. 3-6. Tabulations from Hours, Elsa and Share. Square brackets indicate early retirement for some public employees. Asterisk in France, the retirement age has been extended to 62 and 67 respectively, over the next 8 years. Asterisk in Spain, the retirement age will be extended to 63 and 67 respectively. This increase will be progressively done from 2013 to 2027 at a rate of 1 month during the first 6 years and 2 months during the other 9. In the United States, while the normal retirement age for Social Security, or old age survivors insurance, historically has been age 65 to receive unreduced benefits, it is gradually increasing to age 67. For those turning 65 in 2008, full benefits will be payable beginning at age 66. Public servants are often not covered by Social Security but have their own pension programs. Police officers in the United States are typically allowed to retire at half pay after only 20 years of service or three-quarter pay after 30 years, allowing people to retire in their early 40s or 50s. Military members of the U.S. Armed Forces may elect to retire after 20 years of active duty. Their retirement pay is calculated on total number of years on active duty, their final pay grade and the retirement system in place when they entered service. Allowances such as housing and subsistence are not used to calculate a member's retired pay. Members awarded the Medal of Honor qualify for a separate stipend, regardless of the years of service. Military members in the Reserve and U.S. National Guard have their retirement based on a point system. Datasets. Recent advances in data collection have vastly improved our ability to understand important relationships between retirement in factors such as health, wealth, employment characteristics and family dynamics, among others. The most prominent study for examining retirement behavior in the United States is the ongoing Health and Retirement Study, first fielded in 1992. The Hours is a nationally representative longitudinal survey of adults in the U.S., ages 51 plus, conducted every 2 years, and contains a wealth of information on such topics as labor force participation, health, financial variables, family characteristics, and a host of other topics. 2002 and 2004 saw the introductions of the English longitudinal study of aging and the survey of health, aging and retirement in Europe, which includes respondents from 14 continental European countries plus Israel. These surveys were closely modeled after the Hours in sample frame, design and content. A number of other countries also now field Hours-like surveys, and others are currently fielding pilot studies. These datasets have expanded the ability of researchers to examine questions about retirement behavior by adding a cross-national perspective. Notes: MHAS discontinued in 2003, ELSO as exclude institutionalized. Source: Borsch Supernal, eds. Health, Aging and Retirement in Europe. Starting the longitudinal dimension. Factors affecting retirement decisions. Many factors affect people's retirement decisions. Social Security clearly plays an important role. In countries around the world, people are much more likely to retire at the early and normal retirement ages of the public pension system. This pattern cannot be explained by different financial incentives to retire at these ages, since typically retirement benefits at these ages are approximately actuarially fair, that is, the present value of lifetime pension benefits conditional on retiring at age A is approximately the same as pension wealth conditional on retiring 1 year later at age A+1. Nevertheless, a large literature has found that individuals respond significantly to financial incentives relating to retirement. Greater wealth tends to lead to earlier retirement, since wealthier individuals can essentially purchase additional leisure. Generally, the effect of wealth on retirement is difficult to estimate empirically, since observing greater wealth at older ages may be the result of increased saving over the working life in anticipation of earlier retirement. However, a number of economists have found creative ways to estimate wealth effects on retirement and typically find that they are small. For example, one paper exploits the receipt of an inheritance to measure the effect of wealth shocks on retirement using data from the Hours. The authors find that receiving an inheritance increases the probability of retiring earlier than expected by 4.4 percentage points. Or 12% relative to the baseline retirement rate, over an 8-year period. A great deal of attention has surrounded how the financial crisis is affecting retirement decisions, with the conventional wisdom saying that fewer people will retire since their savings have been depleted. However, recent research suggests that the opposite may happen. Using data from the Hours, researchers examined trends in defined benefit versus defined contribution pension plans and found that those nearing retirement had only limited exposure to the recent stock market decline and thus are not likely to substantially delay their retirement. At the same time, using data from the current population survey, another study estimates that mass layoffs are likely to lead to an increase in retirement almost 50% larger than the decrease brought about by the stock market crash. So that on-net retirements are likely to increase in response to the crisis. More information tells of how many who retire will continue to work, but not in the career they have had for the majority of their life. Job openings will increase in the next 5 years due to retirements of the baby boomer generation. The over 50 population is actually the fastest growing labor groups in the U.S. A great deal of research has examined the effects of health status and health shocks on retirement. It is widely found that individuals in poor health generally retire earlier than those in better health. This does not necessarily imply that poor health status leads people to retire earlier, since in surveys retirees may be more likely to exaggerate their poor health status to justify their earlier decision to retire. This justification bias, however, is likely to be small. In general, declining health over time, as well as the onset of new health conditions, have been found to be positively related to earlier retirement. Health conditions that can cause someone to retire include hypertension, diabetes mellitus, sleep apnea, joint diseases, and hyperlipidemia. Most people are married when they reach retirement age, thus, spouse's employment status may affect one's decision to retire. On average, husbands are 3 years older than their wives in the U.S., and spouses often coordinate their retirement decisions. Thus, men are more likely to retire if their wives are also retired than if they are still in the labor force, and vice versa. EU member states researchers analyzed factors affecting retirement decisions in EU member states. Rashad Mayborliev analyzed how different factors related with health, demographics, behavior, financial status, and macroeconomics can affect retirement status in European Union countries for data collected from the ShareWave 2 dataset and UN sources. He found that males are less likely to be retired compared with females in new member states, which is the opposite result than he found for old member states. He explained that the reasons for these results can be the facts that significant gender wage gap exists in new member states. Household sizes are bigger in these countries than in old member states, and males play an important role in household income, which make them retire less than females. Alba Ramirez uses microdata from the Active Population Survey of Spain and Logat model for analyzing determinants of retirement decision and finds that having more members in the household, and as well as children, has a negative effect on the probability of retirement among older males. This is an intuitive result, as males in bigger household with children have to earn more and pension benefits will be less than needed for household. Antolin and Scarpetta, using German socio-economic panel and hazard model, find that socio-demographic factors such as health and gender have a strong impact on the retirement decision. Women tend to retire earlier than men, and poor health makes people go into retirement, particularly in the case of disability retirement. The relationship between health status and retirement is significant for both self-assessed and objective indicators of health status. This is similar finding to the previous research of Blau and Riffan, using individual data from the German socio-economic panel as well, but controlling for different variables. They found that if individual has chronic health condition, then he tends to retire. Antolin and Scarpetta use better measure for health status than Blau and Riffan, because self-assessed and objective indicators of health status are better measures than chronic health condition. Blondel and Scarpetta find significant effect of socio-demographic factors on the retirement decision. Men tend to retire later than women, as women try to benefit from special early retirement schemes in Germany and the Netherlands. Another reason is that they get access to pensions earlier than men, as standard age of entitlement to pension is lower for women compared with men in Italy and the United Kingdom. The other interesting finding is that retirement depends on household size. Heads of large households prefer not to retire. They think that this can be because of the significance of wages in large households compared with smaller ones and insufficiency of pension benefits. Another finding is that health status is a significant factor in all early retirements. Poor health conditions are especially significant if respondents join a disability benefit scheme. This result is true for both indicators used to express health status. This research is similar to Antolin and Scarpetta and shows similar results, extending sample and implications from Germany to OECD. United States. Quinn et al. Find significant correlation between health status and retirement status. They transform answers for question about health status from 5 levels into 3 levels and report results for 3 groups of people. 85% of respondents who answered excellent or very good to the question about their health in 1992 were still working 2 years after this interview, compared to 82% of those who answered good, and 70% of those answered fair or poor. This fact is also true for year 1996. 73% of people from the first group were still on the job market, while this is 66% and 55% for other groups of people. However, Davil, Rashad and Spatayevich, using data from 6 waves of health and retirement survey, show that relationship between retirement and health status can imply the opposite effect in reality. Physical and mental health decline after retirement. Bennett's Silver analyzes determinants of labor force status and retirement process among elderly U.S. citizens and possibility of decision returning to work using Loggart and Probert models. He uses health and retirement survey for this purpose and finds that physical and mental health has significant effect on becoming employed. Male respondents are more likely to change their status from being not employed to employed, but being insured has a negative effect on switching job status from not employed to employed for people aged 60 to 62, an insignificant effect for 55 to 59 and age over 63.